Y'all want to know the truth about the reason I'm making so many videos today? It's because my to-do list is so long that I don't want to go anywhere near it. I want to do anything but it. So I'm going to talk about privilege. One way that helped me understand privilege, because I very much used to think, the fuck, I worked my ass off to get into Columbia. Damn anyone who says that I had any kind of privilege to do it. That's what I used to think, and it made rational sense based on the information that I had. The information I did not have was that I wasn't really thinking about how privilege works, and also I wasn't understanding that like everyone benefits. Most people benefit from some kind of privilege at some point, and it's just not a balancing act like that. Like, it's not a zero-sum game. So to admit that I had some privileges, some very significant privileges, is not to take away from my achievements, because there were other kids who had the exact same privileges or more, and they didn't do the same things, or they used their talents in different ways, or frankly, they just didn't do the same things. And so it's no less of an accomplishment to do something like get into a school like Columbia just because you also had some privilege. Like, so you're a white guy, maybe you had privilege over other people, but like you still beat like the vast majority. Like, there's still not that many white guys there. That's not the point. Oh man, I messed it up because I said there weren't that many. I can keep going. I just feel like somebody's going to hear like, that's why, that's the DEI. I'm not even talking about DEI. I'm talking about privilege. One of the privileges I didn't realize I had, and this is a good one as an example because it's not like a heated topic. My mother had the goal of my brother and me getting into Ivy League schools or equivalents. Like Stanford counts, UChicago counts. MIT counts, but she knew better than to think we were going there. So anyway, she had that goal, and a psychiatrist would probably point out some issues with that, which is totally fine. But they would be right. It still was like in the game of getting into private Ivy League schools. If you have a parent whose goal in life is to get you into an Ivy League school, yeah, you've got a big privilege over the many kids whose parents don't make that their goal, or don't even have parents, or like parents who do not care, or parents who are neglectful, or parents who just don't know, who just simply don't know. There are a lot of people who've never heard of Columbia. And in the circle I grew up in, it was crazy if you hadn't heard of Columbia. That in and of itself is a privilege. I knew about the different colleges. I knew how to apply. And I had, on top of that, my parents absolutely prioritized my education and my tutoring and all that. So while we were not wealthy, we were high income, and a lot of that income, like the vast majority of that income, went towards my brothers and my education. And that is a massive privilege. And I can acknowledge all of those privileges while still also feeling really proud of the fact that I made so much out of what I had to work with. Yeah, I had pretty good ingredients to work with, but still, like, I made a masterpiece. Not everybody does. And that's okay too. It's just like, I'm trying to illustrate admitting to having privileges, acknowledging your privileges is not to take away from your accomplishments. You can be, you don't have to chip away at your accomplishments to acknowledge your privileges. My husband and I've talked about all the different kinds of privileges that we each have had. He is a white man, but he grew up in a very poor part of the country, in the woods of North Louisiana, in a tiny town called Pollock. And I have a lot of privileges over him because I grew up in Austin, Texas, in like this kind of academic bubble that I didn't even know was academic. And because I thought it was the norm. And I went to these awesome, cool Episcopal schools all the way through, and like, I was just really privileged. I got to travel. My parents were lawyers. They always had a high income for the most part, or at least that I was aware of. And, you know, I didn't have a trust fund, which I guess makes me less privileged than like the top 0.5% or whatever. But I had a lot of privileges over a lot of people, including my own husband. That doesn't mean he hasn't also enjoyed a separate privilege of being a white man, which I don't have. It's not a zero sum game. Like, it doesn't work like that. But like he does experience a certain privilege that comes from being an attractive white man with a commanding voice. That just comes with a certain level of respect from society and a tendency for people to take you more seriously in the workplace, for example. It's just complex. It's not a zero sum game. To acknowledge your own privileges and to give people empathy who haven't been able to do the things you've done, it doesn't take away from your own achievements.